The New York Jets have $90 million of cap space to work with this offseason. Here's the plan they should use in free agency. Hi, I'm Matt O'Leary, back with another video. I just wanted to remind you guys that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the New York Jets and their $90 million worth of cap space. Now, the Jets have a lot of positions that they need to improve on. Quarterback is being a big one, obviously. That's a never-ending thing with the New York Jets. And also some positions on the defensive side of the ball, like cornerback, edge rusher, etc. So today, I'm going to go through the guys that I think the Jets should sign and what my plan would be at attacking this 2018 free agency class. So first up, I want to address the offensive line. I think the Jets should sign center Ryan Jensen, who played for the Baltimore Ravens this past year. And I would sign him to a 5-year deal worth $8 million a year, somewhere in that range. I think that's where the market's going to end up be. And he's going to be a very important piece to this Jets team. Wesley Johnson is not an NFL quality starting center, I don't believe. He showed some promise in 2016, but really struggled last year in 2017. And I don't think he showed you enough that you'd feel comfortable going with him in the future. And Jensen's the best guy out there available at the center position, and the Jets have the cap room to work with. You might as well go out and get the best guy available. I think that he's going to be somewhere between that $7 and $9 million range per year. So I'm going to go right down the middle and say 8. Jensen was the 8th ranked center by Bleacher Report, so that's a good sign. He's a top 10 center, and you're getting him for a reasonable cost. You're not going to have to go into the double digits per year on the annual average value of his contract, so that's also a good sign. He improved each of the 5 years that he's been in the league. Still just 27 years old. He's young. He's on the right side of 30. And on a 5-year deal, you're still going to get him up until age 32, which he should still be in his prime or coming out the back end of his prime by the time the contract is over. And that's not one that's going to really bite you in the butt. It's not one that you're going to be regretting in 3 years. I think Jensen's a quality NFL center, and it would make a lot of sense for the Jets to do this. Like I said, he's the best center on the market, and Wesley Johnson didn't do enough to show that he deserved the job in 2018 and beyond. So I want to shore up my offensive line, and I'm going to go out and get Ryan Jensen. Next up, cornerback. Now, the Jets need one, probably 2 corners, and I'm going to have him sign 2. So we're going to start with E.J. Gaines. I'm going to sign him to a 4-year deal worth $9 million per year. Now, he would be my number 1 corner coming over from Buffalo. Morris Claiborne is just too injured for me. I don't want to bring him back. He has shown way too many times that he can't stay on the field and stay healthy. I want to go with E.J. Gaines. He was the 13th ranked cornerback by Pro Football Focus. His overall grade on the season by Pro Football Focus was 86.6. Very nice grade, and it would be a extreme improvement over what the Jets had at corner. That was one of the positions they really struggled on. They don't have a lot of depth at it, so I think adding E.J. Gaines to the mix would be somewhat of a necessity. They definitely need a number 1 corner, and he fits the bill to a T. Last year with Buffalo, he had 9 pass deflections, 3 forced fumble, and an interception. Now, he only played in 11 games, but I do think he's going to be healthy in 2018, and I'm expecting him to have another big year. I think it's worth the money. And again, he's young. He's just 26 years old. He is just entering his prime. You don't want to pay someone big bucks who is at 28, 29 years old. He is still young. So I have him on a 4-year deal. So you're getting him at age 26, 27, 28, and 29. He's not even getting to age 30 yet. So he should still be in his prime when his contract expires. And then you could let somebody else pay him the big bucks and overpay for him when he's on the back end of his career. So he would be my number 1 corner. And I would also address my number 2 corner as well. In this scenario, I'm keeping Buster Skrine on the roster. He would be my nickel corner, but I do think the Jets need to add some more depth and add another corner, and I would go with Kyle Fuller. I would have him on a 4-year deal as well. His annual average salary would be $7 million per year. And I think that's a reasonable cost. And again, he's solid. He could probably be a number one, but I think he would be an extremely solid number two. He's a former first round pick by the Chicago Bears back in 2014. He had a Pro Football Focus grade of 84.3, and he was ranked 21st in the league. So again, this is another top of the line corner. He's good. I would say he's an above average corner, and having two above average corners as your one and two is imperative in this league, especially because we know it's such a passing league, and you have to really rely on stopping the opponent in the passing game. That's what this game has turned into. It's no longer trying to stop the run. You don't need to put a million guys in the box. You need guys who can cover. And with the two big safeties over the top in Marcus May and Jamal Adams, adding these two corners would be huge in improving the Jets' defensive game when it comes to the passing attack. So yeah, I would have those two guys as my two corners. And again, 4 years, $7 million per for Fuller, and it would be 4 years, $9 million per for EJ Gaines. This guy is someone who I would like the Jets to bring back. He had a career year, and that is Demario Davis. I think you could get him at a reasonable cost. I'm going to give him a 3-year deal worth about $5 million per year, and I think he would accept it, and it's still a reasonable deal for the Jets. Let me explain. It was a career year for Demario Davis. He had 97 tackles, and he led the team with 5 sacks. Now, obviously, the Jets struggled getting after the quarterback, and we're going to address that position in a little bit. But again, career year for Demario Davis. I think it's important for him to come back. He struggled for the first maybe 1 to 3 weeks and then really came on strong down the stretch. I think he deserves to get a raise. And again, if he falls in that $5 million range, I think it's fine. But if he's looking for $7-8 million a year, I'm not willing to go that high. But I don't see a huge market for him, and I think the Jets can retain him pretty easily. At 29 years old, he should still have a few more years left in the tank. He's still on the right side of 30. And again, you're going to notice a trend here. I'm not trying to sign players over the age of 30. I want players who are still in their prime or just entering their prime. That's what a rebuilding team wants. And I think the combination of Darren Lee and Demario Davis as your inside linebackers, they proved to be okay last year. I was a little apprehensive. I thought the linebacker position, especially inside, was going to be weak. But they surprised me, so I want to bring that combination back, and that's why I'm bringing Demario Davis back on a cheap deal. I think a $15 million contract is just fine for Demario Davis. At tight end, I want to make a change. I know a lot of people like Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I was never really too big on him, and I know he wants somewhere in like that $7 million a year range, and I would rather spend that money somewhere else. I want to bring in Trey Burton on a 3-year deal worth $7 million per year. He was on the Philadelphia Eagles last year, and he had 5 receiving touchdowns despite being the backup tight end. So he still has shown a little flash of potential, and I'm going to go through a little bit of a rundown. I took some notes on him on why I would like him, especially over Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He played behind Zach Ertz. He had 5 TDs, and he had a 74.2 catch percentage compared to Austin Seferian-Jenkins' 67.6 catch percent, not as high. Also, Burton had 10.8 yards per reception, where Austin Seferian-Jenkins just had 7.1. I know ASJ is a big red zone threat, but I was never really too high on him. I know it's a nice comeback story for him this year, but his stats are really underwhelming to me. I would much rather go with Trey Burton, who I think has a higher ceiling. I'm willing to overspend on the potential. Yeah, he might not have shown as much, but I think he is going to be a guy who draws a lot of interest, and I certainly would want to go after him if I'm the New York Jets. So I would give him a 3-year deal, and something like $7 million per year I think is fair market value for him. Again, he was a number 2 tight end rather, behind Zach Ertz, and I think it's time for him to be a number 1. And I would like to bring him in. I think he would be a nice addition to this Jets team and to the tight end position here, which is something they've really struggled with ever since Dustin Keller left. The Jets also need help on the defensive end and / edge rusher, especially with Muhammad Wilkerson cut. So I have them signing Alex Okafor on a 4-year deal worth $9 million per year. He had an 84.7 Pro Football Focus grade. He ranked number 22 for an edge rusher. He played with the Saints last year, obviously. The Jets haven't had an edge rusher since John Abraham. Okay, and now that's going back over a decade plus. It's probably about 13 years since last time he was on the New York Jets, or since the Jets had a edge rusher who could really get after the quarterback. He's a guy who shows a lot of potential and could be someone who can get after the quarterback effectively. He had 4.5 sacks last year in just 10 games. Again, he showed a lot of promise, but he tore his Achilles in November, and he might not be ready for training camp, but at age 27, I think he's still worth the risk, and that's why I give him a 4-year deal. It's not a huge contract. It's not like you're paying him in the upper teens. You're just paying him $9 million per. I'd even go up to $10 million if I had to. And I think he could be an effective piece, especially with Leonard Williams. He caused a lot of pressure, Williams did last year, but he didn't really obtain all that many sacks. I think adding a big piece like Alex Okafor would make a huge difference. And like I said, the Jets have struggled as the edge at the position of edge rusher forever, and I think it's finally time to address that in this free agent class. And now we get to the quarterback position, and this is the one that everyone's been waiting for. Am I going to say Kirk Cousins? I'm going to say somebody else. Here's my plan. Josh McCown on a 1-year, $5 million deal. Now, at 39 years old, he is brought back, this time to be strictly a backup and a mentor. Now, what that means is the Jets are going to be drafting a quarterback in my scenario. And in another video coming up in the near future, I'm going to get into a full mock draft for what I want the Jets to do in each round with all their different picks. But I desperately want the Jets to draft a quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins is going to either Minnesota or Denver. I would even maybe put Arizona ahead of the New York Jets as a sleeper. I don't think he's coming, as much as everyone in Jets land seems to want Kirk Cousins as the future in this situation. I understand why you do. He's a proven commodity, but I think he wants to go to a win-now situation, and Denver, Minnesota, Arizona are all in better situations than the Jets right now, even with all this cap room that the Jets end up having. So I bring him back. That is Josh McCown, who had a career year. And again, it is strictly for him to be a backup. I do not want him starting games for me in 2018. That means that something went terribly, terribly wrong this year if Josh McCown is getting any time in regular season games. But again, he should be on the sideline in a baseball cap with a clipboard, writing things down and showing it to one of the Jets quarterbacks that they end up drafting. So with this, I spent $50 million in free agency, which leaves about $40 million to bring back, some like minimal depth signing pieces. I just wanted to hit on like some of the bigger names, some of the bigger moves. I think a lot of my moves were not necessarily like a huge big time splash, but I think they're all effective. You completely solve your cornerback problems. Again, I feel completely comfortable going with Gaines, Fuller, and Buster Skrine as my 3 corners. I definitely like bringing in Okafor for an edge rusher. Again, McCown's going to serve as a backup. You address the tight end need as well, and center, a big issue for the New York Jets these past couple of years. In this, again, like I said, in this plan, you fix a lot of problems that the Jets have, and you still have a lot of space left. Again, you don't want to go all in on year one. You still want to leave some cap room over as well. I know a lot of people might be surprised that I didn't have the Jets adding a big-time wide receiver, especially with Robbie Anderson, and we don't know how long he's going to be suspended for, but I think it's going to be a short suspension. I can't see him being suspended for anything more than 2 games, and I feel completely confident going with Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, and Kearse as my 3 wide receivers. I like Chad Hansen a lot. I think he could be a nice slot receiver. I'm confident in that group, especially if you bring in a tight end as well and add that into the mix. And we're going to get into a little bit more in my mock draft than what I'm going to want to do. But so far, that is my plan. If you agree, comment below and tell me, if you agreed with me, or if you disagree. Again, you could, in the comments, make a mention on who you would want to sign. Also, again, I'm going to mention it one more time, another plug, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Give it a follow, throw me a comment, something, and tell me whether you agreed with my free agency plan or not. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary. If you liked the video, give it a thumb up, and please subscribe. Thanks, and have a great day.